Hey everyone, so this week I've been driving around the 2016 Honda Accord V6 Coupe EXL. Pretty nice car. I am really impressed with the driveline on this. Really fast, really quick, great transmission. This V6 engine has a ton of torque. And it says here it's rated at 278 horsepower. And it's not giving me a torque figure, but I think torque is around the same as well. 18 in the city, 28 miles per gallon on the highway. I've been averaging around 23 miles to the gallon, driving pretty aggressively. And Msrp is $30,925, and this car totals out to $31,745 with destination and handling. And it says they even give you a full tank of fuel at no charge. Pretty cool. But you'll burn that up pretty quickly with how much fun this car is to drive. So, I really like this car a lot. I've always been kind of a sucker for engaging and fast front-wheel drive cars. And the fact that this Accord V6 has such a good 6-speed manual transmission makes it even more attractive in my book. This would make a fantastic daily driver. It's really comfortable, it rides well, it handles well, the engine sounds great. It's pretty roomy in here, even though this is a coupe. Back seats, you could definitely fit an adult back there. The driver's seat has plenty of adjustment. Seats go up and down pretty well. I'm 5'10", and I've got a ton of headroom in here. Might even be able to wear a racing helmet. But the steering wheel telescopes pretty well. You shouldn't have trouble finding a comfortable driving position. And listen to this V6. And of course, it's bright red. Not much has really changed with the look of these cars. One thing I kind of like is this darker smoked chrome grille up front. That's kind of cool. But otherwise, this car looks pretty nice. Good looking alloy wheels. The back end looks kind of cool. And it doesn't really look too awkward. It's nicer proportion for a coupe. Alright, let's go for a drive here. So we're going to start off in economy mode. This is kind of my preferred regular cruising around driving mode, just because the throttle response is a little bit more linear, and the car is a little bit more enjoyable to drive when you're just driving normally in economy mode. It doesn't cut power too much. It's just easier to shift. You'll notice that if you switch off econ, the car becomes a little lurchy, and it gives you a lot of power at very little throttle input. And as you can see, with 278 horsepower, this car is properly quick. It has a lot of torque. You can put this into 6th gear and basically have all the passing power you need on the highway. And then if you bring it down to the 4th or 3rd, you can just blow by people. It's pretty nuts. I think I heard somewhere that a car like this has a better power to weight ratio than the new Mitsubishi Evo, which is pretty nuts. And this is front-wheel drive. Doesn't have a limited slip differential up front. It's an open diff, so you can break the tires loose pretty quickly in 2nd and 3rd around corners. But torque steer isn't too bad. I would say it's pretty manageable, given that all that power and torque is going through the front wheels, and it doesn't have a differential to really control it. chassis on this car is a nice balance between comfort and sportiness. It rides really well, it's quiet over bumps, but once you turn in, the car kind of sets and follows a good line. It rotates pretty willingly, and because it's a little bit softer, it has quite a bit of grip, even though today it's 17 degrees out and we're on these all-season tires. No auto rev matching in this car. I know some of you will probably ask, but it's just really easy to heel and tow, and the rev match the gears with your right foot. Oh, I love this transmission. Honda really knows how to make a good 6-speed. A lot of cars are still offering manual transmissions these days, but so many of them aren't good to drive. They just don't offer the feel that you want. And a transmission like this, I mean, it's so good that it really makes it worth buying the manual. In some respects, it's kind of old school in that sense, because this is a very engaging car to drive. I really like it. I would daily this. All right, let's take it out of economy mode, and I don't know if you'll be able to see too much of the difference between modes on. You just get a much more immediate surge of torque, and you get into the power a lot higher in the accelerator pedal. Turning radius is okay. It's not great, but it's also not too terrible. I've noticed that I've had to do a few 3-point turns into parking spaces. And again, like a lot of other Hondas these days, it has this cool little feature where it shows you what's next to you when you put your signal on. You can also turn that on by pressing the indicator stalk and let that run all the time. Visibility is great, as you can see. I mean, it's a coupe, so you've got this big long window to your left, and then on that side visibility is great, but you almost don't need to worry about looking over there because you have this camera. And that camera will show you something that's even directly next to you. So it covers your whole peripheral vision plus what's behind you. Brake feel isn't anything special. The brakes work quite well for the amount of power. They've got plenty of bite, and ABS doesn't seem to kick in too early or anything. They work fine. No complaints there. Let's take this out onto the highway here. Like most cars with electric steering racks these days, not a whole lot of feel through the steering wheel, but it definitely, the chassis and the car communicates what's going on with the front tires. You have a pretty good idea of when you're losing grip and about how much more you should put into the corner, when you're pushing it and when you're kind of at the edge. So that's nice. It's not like you're just kind of going into a turn and you don't know what the front tires are going to do. You do get some feedback, even though steering feel isn't superb. It's decent for the amount of body lean and roll this car has. But once the car sets in it really does turn quite well. It rotates pretty easily, on and off throttle. You can kind of adjust the car accordingly, and it has so much power. It really straightens out when you get into the gas out of a turn. And let's see here. So we're cruising at 70 miles an hour at about 2,500 RPM. So the engine isn't turning over too much. And I'll show you an example of 6th gear passing power around this truck. 6th gear, foot's to the floor. There you go. I'm off. That's all you need. Like I said before, this is a really comfortable car. Ouch. Not a lot of wind noise. It's pretty quiet in here. The stereo system is decent. Can't play anything for you because of copyright, but yeah, it sounds good. This infotainment system, it's okay. I think you'd get used to it once you got all your favorites and everything plugged into it. The auto climate control seems to work pretty well. It fires up relatively quickly in the morning. No heated steering wheel in this car, which was my favorite feature last week while it was 10 degrees out. Instead, I went out and actually bought some gloves. These seats are great. They're pretty comfortable, and they keep me in the seat decently well when we're going around the corners. Again, this car doesn't have a whole lot of outright grip, but it handles well. It definitely makes it around the corners, and I think it would be a lot of fun to kind of take down a good twisty road, of which we don't have any in Michigan, unfortunately.